So, welcome and hello, everyone. I'm Jeff Gunderson, Senior Director of Sales Training and Enablement at Demand Science. And I'm here to discuss an interesting topic, women in data science today. And despite the field of data science dramatically exploding in the last few years, women only occupy, on the low end about 10% and on the high end about 18% of the data science jobs in the United States. This reflects the need to expand the reach of STEM to women overall, but we're not going to dive into that topic too much right now, right? Rather, we're going to talk to one of our own wonderful teammates to expose more women and the behind-the-scenes look at the career in the field of data science. With that, I turn to Daniela Christenakis, our Director of Customer Experience. Daniela, thanks so much for being a part of this series. The role that you play is integral to our success, and was hoping you can share a brief introduction of yourself and what you do at Demand Science and how it's important to our clients.
Hey, Jeff. Yeah, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. So as you said, I'm the Director of Customer Experience at Demand Science. I've been here for about 6 years. And ultimately, I just love working with clients, not just to walk them through our products, but also to help them strategize, like looking at the big picture and ultimately, getting them ROI on their investment with us. So I'm really proud to work somewhere that is just setting the standard for client service in the data industry.
Nice. That's awesome. And I'm kind of curious, you mentioned you've been in this for 6 years. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey into this field, Daniela? How did you end up working in data science and B2B?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd definitely say that my path to data science and B2B is a bit untraditional. So going back about a decade ago, I got my degree in communications, and I had a couple different jobs out of college. My first job was actually at a news station. I worked at a web desk, writing articles for the news station. So that really taught me how to navigate tight deadlines and work in high pressure situations. And then from there, I took a role in social media marketing. And I really realized in my marketing career that my favorite part of that job was working through the details and working with other stakeholders to get projects done. So that's really when I realized I belong in some sort of B2B role, account management, working with other people to get things done. So really found my groove when I got to Demand Science. After kind of proving myself on the CX team, I got the opportunity to build CX processes around our data products. So I'm just really, happy that I found this. I'm doing something that I love, and I'm really able to be myself here and really work to my strengths.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Obviously, you talked about some of the different things you've done leading up to this point, and I think on the topic of women empowerment, I guess my question is two-part, right? Did you have any, women mentors that you had in maybe some of those jobs, whether it was leading up to the one at Demand Science or once you got here, or sometimes we ask those questions and it's like, well, no, I didn't, and that's what I'm trying to inspire to be, for other people after. Which kind of one of those, what was your story?
Yeah, definitely. So as far as female mentors, I've definitely had a couple in the past. I'd say even going back to college, I had a really great professor that gave me a lot of opportunities off the bat when I was in school. So that was amazing. I had a boss at the news station too, that she was running the web desk when I got there, and she just really inspired me. She was just so great with her mentorship as well. And then also when I got to Demand Science too, I had a really, really amazing mentor here as well that also was able to help me and give me a lot of opportunities. So definitely, a lot of women along the way have helped kind of support me and lift me up to where I am now.
That's super inspiring to hear that you had some of those people kind of get you to where you are now, and obviously, hopefully you can continue to send that ladder back down, for those that look up to you. What do you think are, some of the difficulties and challenges that women face in this field, whether it's, data science or CX or what have you? And, do you have maybe an example from a time that you overcame a challenge like that?
For sure. So I think this is probably something a lot of women can relate to, but I definitely do struggle with a little bit of imposter syndrome. So sometimes, feeling like, do I belong here? Do I belong in this conversation? And just having the confidence to build myself up. being in data science, right? Sometimes I look up when I log into a call and I realize I'm the only woman on the call. So I kind of face the challenge of sometimes not being like the loudest voice in the room. I'll go to like unmute myself to say something and then somebody else is saying what they're saying. So I mute again, unmute, somebody else is talking, mute again. So definitely I've pushed myself to kind of speak up more and make sure my opinions are heard and just remind myself that I deserve a seat at the table and that, push myself to make sure that I'm taking that seat.
Yeah, and I guess what helps you get over that hump, right? You mentioned that it's something that you struggled with and maybe even you still struggle with to this day, right? But you mentioned you've been doing this for 6 years now. So at what point do you feel you go from imposter syndrome to maybe I'm the longest tenured person on this phone call, or what have you, or is there more to it than just, well, how long have you been here? And that's the only cure for imposter syndrome.
So I think it's twofold. I think, some of that is definitely within myself and things that, I have worked on and I've been able to improve at over the years. And it's a lot of practice too, right? Like maybe a couple years ago when I first took on this role, I was more timid than I am now. But honestly, I think it's a combination of me pushing myself to be better and growing that confidence. And then also, having that support from other people and, realizing through coaching and through a lot of support that I've gotten that I deserve that and I need to take it in stride.
That's amazing to hear. Kind of on top of those, right? Speaking of, women getting into data science, kind of pivoting back towards, your role in your day-to-day, it's obviously must be an exciting position to be in, right? Can you describe, Daniela, how a typical day goes for you? What are the things, big or small, that you look forward to, especially as a director of customer experience for, one of our bigger solutions of Clarity?
Absolutely. So on a typical day, I definitely usually have both internal meetings and customer meetings. So kind of twofold. One of the things I'm still working on is kind of defining processes and strategy for Clarity, and then also how Clarity bundles well with our other products. So that's definitely kind of my sweet spot, what I really enjoy doing. But something that arguably I enjoy even more is just working with my team. It's one of my favorite things about my job. I love supporting my team and helping them solve challenges and kind of just being there for them to bounce ideas off of and chat through things with. And then as well, I also still work with clients too, which I really enjoy as well. Just having like personal connections with clients is just something I've always loved. When I get on a call with a client and they start telling me about their day or what's going on with their family, I just love that I've been able to build those types of relationships with clients. And then as well, of course, making sure they have like the tools and the best practices they need to utilize our products best and ultimately thrive as customers. So a little bit of everything I'm doing, but definitely really enjoy all three of those elements.
You mentioned, one of the highlights of the job in the day-to-day is your team, right? And for those that are watching this that don't know, we have an award-winning customer experience team here at Demand Science. So, what on that topic of your team, Danielle, can you share with us, what makes the team so special? What is it? Is it their process? Is it their personalities? Is it their leadership? What is it?
I may be biased, right? But I definitely think we have one of the best customer experience teams in the industry. And I really think the reason for that is just getting to know our team. Our team truly cares. They really do care about their clients and they care about their clients succeeding and us doing a good job for them. So our team is always advocating for our clients and putting them first. And I think that is ultimately what makes us as strong as we are. But bigger picture, I know we're looking at being kind of like a one-stop shop for marketing teams by supporting them in their ABM strategy and really taking a holistic approach to that. So that starts with Clarity, right? Our data product where we're able to guide them through building out an audience and creating an ABM list and ultimately a strategy. And then taking that list and reaching that audience with targeted content through content syndication, and then retargeting the audience with display as well. So taking all that into account and building like a holistic approach, a one-stop shop for our marketers, I think is the other thing that has really differentiated us in the industry. Helping them not just with one product, with one element of what they need, but bringing it all full circle.
Yeah, definitely. And just kind of interjecting on top of that, right? As a demand science, we have a couple of SaaS platforms, one of which you oversee, but by and large, we're a campaign services company, right? And I think that from what I've seen on my side, right, of the sales enablement side is, sales at all companies loves to talk about how things will always be perfect and execution will be flawless and you will never encounter anything that ever goes wrong, right? Because that's kind of what has to be the outward sales motion, right? But ultimately, things go wrong in business. Every company you work at, every service you have, there's always a speed bump, right? And I've always found, and what I hear a lot from our clients when I review our calls in Gong or I read our G2 reviews, right, which are 4.5 stars for anyone that wants to take a look at that, is that it's not, the true mark of a great CX team isn't necessarily preventing things that, from going wrong, because that will always happen. Is how do they respond when things do? And I always feel like our team is super responsive with even the smallest hiccups or the smallest inconveniences that might happen, right? And it's how you respond to problems, not prevent them, that really makes, I think, a great CX team. And I feel like we have the best team at that. So I appreciate you sharing that. I just want to kind of add to it, just from someone in the same organization on the other side of the fence. My next question is probably something you've shared with your own team, but hoping we can share this to a broader audience. If you could share 1 or 2 pieces of advice for young women, in this industry, or maybe just in your particular role, regardless of industry, what would it be?
Yeah, so I know it's a little bit cliche, right? But one of our values at Demand Science is to be human, right? And to really just be yourself. And I definitely kind of live that out, and definitely recommend always that others do as well. I've learned over the years that clients and peers alike just respond better to you when you're yourself, right? So really just embracing that, being human. Like I said earlier, just, creating those personal relationships and kind of being yourself is, I feel like, one of the things that has gotten me to where I am. And I definitely recommend anyone getting started or any women in the industry, definitely just embracing that be human value is definitely going to set you up for success.
How do you think the be human coincides with the imposter syndrome, right? Because I think that it's interesting that, your true north is to be yourself. And also one of the things you struggled with in the past is doubting yourself, right? And feeling like, well, I'm an imposter, yet I'm trying to be human and be myself, right? And there's obviously some conflicting feelings there. Kind of what is your take on that? And is that just why it can be so difficult?
Yeah, well, I think you nailed it, Jeff. I think we've come full circle, right? Imposter syndrome being kind of something I've struggled with, but ultimately, reminding myself that, like I said, I deserve a seat at the table, and being myself is the way that I've been able to, get the opportunities I've gotten and move forward. It definitely all ties in together, that being human and, embracing that is definitely how I've gotten through those tougher moments.
And, the women empowerment, it's interesting, right? Because, they chose me to be, the interviewee, and maybe because you and I go way back when we partnered together on the sales and CX side when we were individual contributors. But I come from a family of all boys, uncles, cousins, brothers. It's just a family of all boys. Yet I have 2 young daughters, 2 and almost a newborn. So I'm starting to, women empowerment is starting to become more in the forefront for me than it ever has been, just based upon surroundings and how they change. What have you seen just going through your life or your career? Obviously, you've gotten to a high point now, given your title and everything that Demand Science empowers you to do and achieve and lead at this company. How do you continue to take the next step? And I'm guessing Daniela has dreams beyond where you are right now at the end of 2023. So how do you reach those dreams?
So I'd say that, I'm definitely an ambitious person, and I've kind of always been that way. So for me, I always have my next goal, and I've always written it down. So that's really something that I do. And then sometimes I'll go and look back at different goals I've written down, different, whether it's a New Year's resolution or just something I want to accomplish within a certain period of time. And I'll go, wow, like I did that, right? So for me, personally, that's what keeps me going. It's being aware of what I want to accomplish and then also putting in the work to get there. So once I write that down, that is what I'm going to do and I'm going to make it happen. So absolutely would recommend that kind of strategy to others as well, just to keep you focused and to build on how you want to get there that way.
As a woman in what the stats say is a male-dominated space of data science and B2B, do you feel like you have to work harder than the people next to you to achieve those goals? Has that historically been something you feel like has had to be done?
Sometimes, yeah. Like I think, going back to my younger years, maybe I felt like things don't come like as naturally to me. So I do feel like I've put in a lot of work to get to where I am. Maybe the opportunities that have been offered to me maybe wouldn't have if I didn't know what I want, ask for what I want, and then work for it as hard as I have. So I can definitely see maybe I've worked harder than maybe some others that have gotten to where they are, for sure. But then again, everybody has their own story, and I wouldn't want to compare my journey to anybody else's, but definitely feel like I've put in the work to get to where I am.